Is that right? Is that? Well, do you want to turn it on? Yeah. Hi, everyone. Hi. Hi, everyone. We're just going to have a few remarks from people, from our sponsors and some other guests here, some MPs that we're going to hear from. So we're just kicking this off, and thank you, everyone, for coming. My name is Jake Sumner. I'm one of the co-chairs of CERA, which is Labour's environment campaign, and we're the socialist society that focuses on the environment and climate, and we know how important that is. We're coming here today to champion the green future that we can have, the green industrial revolution that we can lead. And as Ed Miliband said earlier today, and something that CERA has long advocated, it is about the party of climate and economic justice together. I'd like to thank Prospect Trade Union and Renewable UK for supporting this event. And we can only hold events like this with the support of our partners, and you'll hear some great remarks from them in a sec. So a quick plug, we've plenty of other events, and some of you have been to them already. We've got a big programme. We've got hopefully some leaflets around. I realise they might be in a bag at the moment, but they're all at the Hotel de Van, apart from this event, on 2 Ship Street in the Dome Room. And we've got a whole range of different speakers and subject areas. So please come along to those. Another quick plug as well, if you're not a CERA member, please join. Again, we can only do our activity with support of our members. So please join if you haven't done. And it's all online, very easy to do. And we have all different activities like this, but all throughout the whole year. And then I was just going to put a little bit of a context. We're in this is the year of climate and the environment. We've got the COP 26 in a few weeks' time. But really, we need to have a green decade. And we can have that green decade, and where we make the seismic and comprehensive changes that we need, or we don't. And that future looks very bleak if we don't do that. The good news is that there's many people in this room, like Tom, you're about to hear from him, and companies like that, and others that are showing us the way, the green future we can have, the benefits of green, it's very hard to say this, green, clean energy. I wrote it, a bit stupid, but anyway, and it's, the cheapest form of energy, and it brings good jobs. And it's that energy that can power the green industrial revolution. And we can see that, that it's needed in our transport, for our homes, and for our industries. And that is really the underpinnings of that green industrial revolution that we need. And we've seen a real growth and a success of renewables. But just imagine we'd had systemic support a decade ago, it could have been even bigger. And really, we can't lose that opportunity today. And we are here now at this point, and it has to happen now. And we cannot leave it to chance, and we cannot leave it and let those opportunities go. The risks are too high. So I've probably said enough. I'm going to start to introduce our speakers, and they're going to tell you a bit more about how they see a green industrial revolution. So first up, we've got Sue Ferns. Sue Ferns is the Deputy General Secretary of Prospect Trade Union. What a great trade union, I've worked with them before, and also the TUC President and a voice for the workforce. Over to you, Sue.
Thanks very much, Jake, and thanks to CERA for hosting this event and to Renewable UK for partnering with us to host it. And I think it's so important on this issue that we have industry, unions and campaigners working together. We know we need unity of purpose if we're going to rise to the climate challenge. And this theme of us working together is one that I really want to focus on just for a few minutes this evening. For those of you who don't know us, Prospect is a politically independent trade union representing 150,000 members across key sectors of the economy. We're a union that believes in the power of science and technology, and we're proud to represent energy workers from across the industry, including renewables, as well as environmental workers and others that are tackling the climate crisis. Only last week, we had a conference of our energy sector members where we had a fantastic debate about the future of renewables and the value of us as a union working with the industry and working with the broader environmental community to take renewables from strength to strength. We obviously are meeting a particular moment in time in the run-up to COP, and we know that the climate crisis is the greatest challenge facing us as a society, and we are, I think, in the position now where most of the public agree with us. But we need to do more than will the end. We need to focus now on the means and on making it happen. And I'm very clear that that means we need an activist green industrial policy. And as Ed Miliband said in his excellent speech this morning, that means as well working for a fairer society at the same time. And as a union in this industry, we want to see unionised, good, green, high quality jobs. And I think that's what we should all want to see here. So I want to make 3 points just briefly in the few minutes that I have. The first one is about clean technology deployment. Of course, we've seen fantastic progress in offshore wind in recent years, which demonstrates the ability of the industry and government working together to deploy at scale and bring costs down. But we do need to achieve the same gains in other technologies, whether that's solar, CCUS, battery storage, nuclear, I would say as well. We need all the clean generating capacity we can get, and we need to go further and faster beyond words to action with the proper industrial strategy. And that strategy must do more as well in terms of UK content. Of course, the UK is world leading in the deployment of many forms of clean technology, and that's fantastic. But our ambition should be greater than that. We need to be leading not just in deployment, but in development, design, and manufacturing. And in short, we haven't always been world leading in capturing the economic value of our success in the rollout of clean technologies and translating it into jobs. My union did some research before the pandemic, which found that renewables jobs in the UK were declining at exactly the same time as deployment was increasing. So we want to see higher UK content, and we want to see a new partnership between government, industry, and unions to help translate our progress on clean technology into green jobs and better supply chains across the country. And the final point I want to make does relate to jobs, and it's about just transition. And we need to get serious about a just transition because we can do it. And I'm sure that everybody here would agree that a transition to a greener economy has to be one where we don't leave individuals and communities behind. We need in particular to support workers in higher carbon industries to transition into new roles, whether that's through job matching, skill support, mentoring, and we've been doing this ourselves as a union, working with the companies or in other ways. And this is an agenda which we as a union have been actively pursuing in partnership with others. We published a policy paper with Community Union and the Alex Ferry Foundation earlier in the year, highlighting good practice from abroad. We participated actively in the Scottish Government's Just Transition Commission, and I was able to make the argument as part of the government's Green Jobs Task Force, which recommended a new government body to help coordinate policy in this area. And I know Labour's looking at it actively too, and there's work going on in the shadow-based team around just transition, where they're working with a range of stakeholders, including us as unions, and we very much welcome this. I also know that Renewable UK have recently published a Just Transition tracker to promote best practice in the industry. And again, I welcome these moves. So what I want to say, especially to industry colleagues in the room tonight, is that we want to work with you on this agenda. And I believe there's a lot we could achieve together. The time is now. We can't leave it. And the best way to make progress is for all of us to be working together. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Sue. And so we're going to hear from Tom Glover now, who's the country chair of RWE. I hope I pronounced that right. And that's a renewable energy company, a member of Renewable UK. And I think it's the world's #2 offshore wind company. And he's also going to tell you a bit more about the Rampion Visitor Centre behind us, that some of you have already seen. And over to you, Tom.
Thank you. Gosh, it all gets a bit more difficult after 2 gin and tonics, doesn't it? So, and David wants me to make sure I read this, but I may make up slightly something a bit different. But first of all, thanks and welcome to the RWE Rampion Visitors Centre. For those of you who can see that wind farm in the dark or could see it earlier on, that's our wind farm, and it's a beautiful thing. I went out today, and when you go out there, you get really proud about the investment that everybody's making in green energy, and it's kind of hits you there. So I would recommend, and I'll go on a bit more about the visitor centre later, but I would recommend if you take a boat trip, it's quite cheap. It's only like £35 or something. Go out there. I'm not a marketing thing for Ross Boats, but go out there, have a look, and it's very far away. It's 8 miles out. And it's absolutely massive when you get there. It looks quite small from here, but when you get there and you look up, it's amazing. So that wind farm, it's 116 turbines. It's 400 megawatts. That provides enough energy for about 350,000 homes, so half of Sussex. So that's pretty cool, right? And it saved every year about 600,000 tons of carbon. So this is real change and reducing carbon. The project, we have an O&M team of about 60 full-time people, so it's creating the green jobs that Sue talked about, and that's down at New Haven Port, and we've refurbished that, and we have a team out there who go and service that wind farm. And as you will know, if you're local, if you're not local, you won't know, but we're consulting on an extension to basically put another potential 116 turbines out there to provide even more electricity, which would mean we would be able to provide enough electricity for the whole of Sussex and a little bit more. So I think that's pretty amazing in terms of what we want to invest. Jake kind of stumbled on RWE. It's a very catchy brand, as we know. So I need to tell you a little bit about it. So this is an example of what RWE is doing. And Sue talked about the just transition. And for those who know RWE a long time, we're famous for having lots of thermal power stations, so coal and gas. In fact, we're the second largest generator in the UK. Most of that currently comes from coal and gas. And part of our transition is to move away from that to this. And we currently operate 9 offshore wind farms in the UK. So we've got the largest fleet of gas stations. We've unfortunately closed our coal stations. I say unfortunate because of the people who are employed there, not all of whom have had that just transition yet. So we have to look after those workers and make sure that they're looked after. A lot of them have been redeployed. So if you've got like an electrical technician or a substation technician, we can redeploy them. If it's a material handler, we can't. And you've got to be realistic and be honest about that. But we as RWE are going through that transition and trying to look after our people and make sure that we green our environment. And RWE has got a net zero target as a company by 2040. That's science-based, so we're monitored by the science-based targets. We've signed up to the Race to Zero. So we are absolutely committed as a company to do this. And it's a complicated engineering challenge, and that's what we're good for. And we talked about the second largest offshore wind player in the world, but we've actually got the largest UK offshore development pipeline. So we've got 7.5 gigawatts that we can develop with the right government policies and the right framework. And that includes the extension out here. And talking about jobs in regions and stuff, we just announced last week that we're opening up a Grimsby O&M hub, 60 other new jobs. That is going to be our global expertise for major component change. So that's UK jobs traveling around the world to do major component change. Right, and this is the bit where I go off and David starts sweating, right, and going, what's he going to say? Because Jake told me I shouldn't go on about lots of detailed policies because everybody's had 3 or 4, I was going to say bottles, glasses, hopefully, of wine. And he thought we couldn't really be here today without talking about the current crisis, right? And we're all sat here enjoying our drinks and stuff, but there's people who are going to get higher bills and struggle through the winter. Yeah, and we should just make sure that we pause, and we can have fun here tonight talking about the energy industry. But it has been expensive. Yeah, and some people, though, and this is the point Jake wanted me to make, and I fully agree with it. Some people are saying, well, this is all because of renewables, isn't it? So we should just stop renewables. But just think that through. The reason why we've got a high gas price is because it's a high global gas market. So if we get ourselves off gas and decarbonize and have more renewables, yeah, we'll have less exposure to gas. Yeah, and we'll be able to, once we've built these, and these are now competitive, right? So we are now currently giving money back to the government under the contract regime. We're giving them money back to build these, and these are competitive. So if you build more and more of these and other low carbon technologies, all of the ones that Sue mentioned, then we can get ourselves away from global gas and give people more stability around their actual domestic gas bills. So actually the answer is, and I'm not going to do the detailed policies, sorry, David, the answer is go quicker, go faster, get ourselves off gas. That will make sure that we end up with ultimately lower energy bills. And now the plug. So this visitor centre behind you that's hosting it is awesome. I had a look around, particularly the virtual reality bit, right? And there's a lot of you, so there's going to be a big queue. The team told me, and one of the advantages of being the boss is I've already done it, right? So you're all behind in the queue. But I would recommend it. It's like a virtual tour out to the wind farm, 3D, and you kind of sit on top of the turbine, and you can see what it's all about. That's a lot cheaper than the boat trip. And also Florence. I don't know if Florence is here tonight. You get less sick as well. So poor Florence. And yeah, the Rampion thing, it's free anytime. So it's not just tonight. So if ever you're in Brighton, you want to come and look around, that's part of RWE's 4 million fund that we've given to the community of Sussex as part of building this wind farm. So whenever you want to come, please come and do it. Invite local kids and scout groups and this kind of thing. I'm a scout leader. I'm passionate about young people, get them understanding about climate change and believing in it. Okay, so thank you very much, and thanks so much for coming tonight.
And so we've just got two brief remarks. We're going to hear from Abena Oppong-Asare, and she's the Shadow Exchequer Secretary to the Treasury and the MP for Erith and Thamesmead. And as we know, the Treasury is key to unlocking green engines and to power our future. And so, over to you.
Thank you. Firstly, can I just say, Jake, I'm so impressed you pronounced my name right. Not everyone always gets my name right. Firstly, I want to thank Jake, Sue and Tom for organising this event. It's really important. And I'm going to be naughty here and do a shameless plug to hi to people from my CLP, so Nav and Izzy from my CLP. Hope you're enjoying conference. So I think it's great that we're having this in person, and it's really important that this event is taking place, particularly as Sue has mentioned already, we're only a few weeks away from COP26. And unfortunately, what we've seen is a lack of action from this government on this. We've yet to see the publication of the net zero review that the Treasury has has been promising that will be published. We've yet to see any clear kind of action in terms of how this will be taken seriously from the government. One of the things that I wanted to talk about is, because I know Alan Whitehead will be coming over to speak to you guys, and I'm not going to repeat what he's going to say, but he will set out what Labour is going to be doing in terms of the energy transition. I really wanted to talk about how the Treasury in particular are kind of failing and particularly addressing net zero. In my view, the Treasury should be key to this. In terms of what should be done with this. We know that Rishi Sunak is not taking this issue particularly seriously. Just a few weeks ago, I raised this in Parliament directly at Treasury Questions about when the net zero report would be published. And I kind of just got sat down. And the same happened with the Shadow Chancellor, Rachel Reeves. What we were told when we made written submission questions to the government that it will be published in August last year. that never happened. Then we were told that it would be published in spring, and it still hasn't happened. I do know that the Climate Change Committee also made recommendations for the government to follow in terms of implementing steps in terms of being more addressing climate change. We've yet to see any of that happen. It's really, really frustrating in terms of getting the government to to take this really seriously. But one of the things that I've been doing along with my colleagues is we've been meeting with various organisations and individuals in the sector to talk about the key things that we could be raising as a Labour opposition. And I just want to assure you that we will continue to do this. The only way that the government is really going to make these changes if we put pressure on them. Ideally, if we had a Labour government, I believe that we would be doing things in a very different way in terms of engaging and making sure that net zero is on the forefront. The difficulty is, without a plan, it's very difficult to get individuals, particularly the wider member of the public, to understand or take this issue seriously. Conversations that I've had with organisations trying to lead the forefront on this is that they're being bounced from pillar to pillar because they're being told to go to bays, they're being told to go to transport. And this is why it's so important that the Treasury in particular leads on this. I don't want to spend my time talking at you because I know a lot of you work in this kind of sphere, but I think it's just really important that we all work collectively together to try and make sure that we can push for positive change on this. And I'm very much willing to listen to organisations and individuals, and I've met with some of you already to see what we could be doing as a Labour opposition to be also seen to be leading on this. So I just want to say thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of the reception and take care. Bye.
So thank you for those words, and also thank you to the people who have also helped organise this as well. When there's a lot of people in here, including our organisers, Tracy and George in Sierra. Alan Whitehead isn't quite here yet, is he? No, you're not hiding at the back, Alan. No, I didn't think so. So Alan was due to he's sort of coming for another event. Why don't we just grab ourselves a drink, enjoy that here for me, and then if Alan comes through, we can grab him up and I'll ask him to make one or two very brief points from the energy side. Thank you once again for coming, and all of you, and grab yourself a drink, and thank you very much.